This week on Supercars Talk, Percat and McLaughlin are winners. Team Sydney is actually in Sydney. There's talk of Team Morris starting up again. And we talk about some actual great racing over the weekend. First things first, there was great racing over the weekend. Who would have thought giving them a tyre that degrades and having people on different strategies would work so well? So Saturday, everyone kind of was on the same strategy other than a few people who were in the, top 15 shootout who maybe used an extra set of tyres to get in there. But it didn't really affect the racing much, and it was, pretty stock standard racing on Saturday. If we're being honest, Shane Van Gisbergen got out of the car and complained that he couldn't pass Scott McLaughlin. Obviously, Scott had pitted earlier, not started, and then Shane had pitted later and came kind of charging back with better tyre life, and then complained that he couldn't get past when he got to him. Probably by that point the tyres had evened out a bit as well, so that the tyre gain wasn't there so much. He used them up to catch him. Anyway, so there's a bit of the normal aero complaint after the race on Saturday. But other than that, Sunday was amazing, and there's a lot of people who, have already, they've been commenting to me, Percat's win was brilliant. Okay, I've been banging on about Percat and replacing Fabian Coulthard for quite a while, and people have been poo-pooing the idea because Percat's a dud and whatever. I think this showed that he's definitely not a dud. And once again, Brad Jones Racing, they, stepped up from those kind of old Oscar, NASCAR days where they pull a little bit of a different strategy to people, pulled it out of the bag, had the win. So a lot of people are commenting, it's only because the other guys were on their crappy tyres saving him for race 3 and Percat was on his best set of boots kind of thing. Well, everyone had that option to run the weekend that way. They chose, they assessed the situation they were in and went, right, the other guys are on, their ordinary tyres for this race. Let's throw our eggs in this basket while we've got a chance and go for it. But really, he wasn't out of the game it's not like he was down in 20th in race 1 and 3. And, he really did a good job in race 2. Todd Hazelwood was up the front as well. So that was great to see. It's funny. I'd actually heard a few people say, and these are people in the know, before Eastern Creek saying about, it's not going to work because, the tyres don't degrade there and that. And I even started second guessing myself after they said that. And because I think I'd actually said on the video, this could be good because it is a high degradation circuit. And I just started to think, maybe I was... no, I wasn't wrong. Those other idiots were wrong. Eastern Creek is a high degradation circuit. And on the soft tyre, it ate it up. I think I've mentioned this many a time on the videos, throw in a bit of a variable like not enough tyres for the weekend and degrading tyres. And hey, some guys go on some different strategies. And the other thing was, it wasn't like we had 32 lap races. It wasn't like everyone pit on lap 16 and split it perfectly in two. You had some guys, pitting on, say, lap 10 and some guys pitting on lap 20. So there was a big window there where you had guys on different tyre life. And then obviously we had guys doing 2 tyres, 3 tyres, some of them, and 4 tyres in the stop. So that just changed everything. And another thing, I think there's 2 rattle guns, 2 thumbs up from that. It just, it throws another into the mixture. Someone like Winton, where the tyre degradation is not going to be the same. Everyone's going to probably, bolt on a couple of rears, and that's that. You've got to expect that. Like Formula One has Monaco, where, it's a pretty standard strategy. But at least we have something a bit different at different rounds. So I really like the idea where, you had the people doing different things, and you've got the bonus of having a quicker pit stop doing the two tyres, but then you give away a bit of speed on the track. So, or you change, spend a bit more time in the pits, but you have a bit more speed on track. So, as typical with these things, you probably get a bit to, where everyone converges to the same thing. I think by the end on Sunday, we saw, Saturday was a bit more mixed up between 2, 3 or 4 tyre changes in the stop. I think Sunday, without actually going through it, seemed a lot more people were doing the 4 tyres on Sunday. As I said, they kind of all converge. But one way of changing this is, you throw a slightly different compound in each year. Make the tyres a little bit softer, and maybe other than maybe Bathurst, maybe Phillip Island. But if they're shorter races, maybe leave a harder compound for Bathurst, something a bit different. But everywhere else, I can't see why we're not running on the soft tyre. And yes, we had that problem a few years ago at Phillip Island where people were, putting too much camber on them and they were blowing up. Well, that's the risk they take. If it's up to me, Dunlop gives a recommendation. You should have 3-degree camber or something maximum. If you want to run, 10 degrees camber, well, let them do that and let them suffer the consequences when they blow up. We don't need to mandate, everyone just run a maximum. Let them go. Let them do something a bit different. And suffer the consequences if something goes wrong. But anyway, to sum up, I've ranted on a little bit. The racing was great. Bring on Winton. A rumour came out over the weekend that Paul Morris might be starting up his team again. The rumour is that Brodie Kostecki and Anton De Pasquale, who are students of his, he's going to start up a team with them. There is a bit of rumour going around because, Team Penske hasn't committed to the series for next year, so he's going to buy Penske's licences. What I heard was, the Supercars has got quite a few licences sitting there at the moment, and there is the 2 Team Sydney ones, but that was another unsubstantiated rumour. And logic dictates that he would pick up 2 of the Supercars licences that are just sat there at the moment. Cars obviously coming from Triple Eight. I say obviously because Paul Morris and Roland Dane are friends. It all makes sense. When Triple Eight changed from Ford to Holden, Morris gave him a bit of a helping hand in that. That all makes sense. The driver part makes sense. Morris has got a lot of money, and he's got connections. Like, they always had a fairly good sponsor roster at that team, even though they had a lot of family money, and that they had quite a few good sponsors over the years, and it's a bloody good driver lineup. And from what I'm hearing, Scotty is not going to America next year. That won't be until 2022, so the seat isn't there for Anton at Penske other than getting rid of Coulthard. But as much as I say they should be signing Percat for that seat, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So this Team Morris thing has come up. It does seem a little bit wild kind of fantasy, like people putting 2 and 2 together and getting 54, but I'm a bit on the fence of this because I have heard from someone who's been quite reliable for me in the past that, yes, this is happening, but I'm a little bit hesitant to believe this one because it does seem a little bit fanciful, considering Morris has been quite vocal about, the cost saving and that, and to me, next year is just going to be basically a continuation of this year. So you'd have to make an investment in the cars and everything. And then, potentially are we going to have Gen 3 in 2022? If it was saying this is going to happen in 2022, I'd probably be a little bit more confident about it, like as a Gen 3 kind of thing. We'll watch this space and we'll see what happens with it. Team Sydney is finally in Sydney. So Team Sydney started off the year in their old base in Queensland there, the old Techno base, and now they're in a temporary base at Sydney Motorsport Park in Eastern Creek. I nearly said they were at Eastern Creek. I've actually, nearly got down pat calling it Sydney Motorsport Park now instead of Eastern Creek. So anyway, they finally made the move. Apparently the truck never actually made it back to Queensland from the Grand Prix. But, didn't matter. It's still the back of the grid. They still haven't fixed the paint job on the Coke car. Local Legends car, that still looks like a finished paint job, while the Coke paint job looks like a waste of time. And the Coke looks more integrated on the Local Legends car than what the Coke looks integrated on the Coke car. Anyway, enough talk about their livery, because I've covered this before. What did surprise me over the weekend was Alex Davison. The worst of the two Davison brothers. No one can dispute that, I don't think. I don't even think Alex himself would say that he was better of the two. He actually surprised me a little bit. I had these two pegged, definitely being, the part of the two of the four that would get knocked out of that first qualifying session. And Alex actually made it through. So, well done, Alex. Be interesting to see how it goes over the rest of the year. Jack Smith as well. He was getting a little bit involved in a few battles and things like that. He wasn't, everyone kind of bagging him out. He hasn't been just. I figured he would be last in every qualifying race and everything this year. He's surprisingly, he's not as bad as what people have made out. The keyboard warriors out there, once again, weren't quite right about something. With all the talk about saving costs and, we're taking less people to the track, that's COVID thing, but we're all taking that as a bonus because it saves a bit of cost out of it. One thing that I feared was going to happen, Jamie Whincup turned up with his flashy new steering wheel. Granted, he didn't win over the weekend, which was probably a bit of a big surprise to him. He got to qualify on pole for his 500th race twice. Surprisingly, he hasn't won a race this year, I don't think. I'm getting old and my memory's not as good as what it once was. Adelaide seems like so long ago now. So he's come out and he's got the fancy GT3 style steering wheel that, I've said this should have just put a stop to this before it became a thing. It's becoming a thing now, so now I can see that everyone is going to have to go out and buy fancy steering wheels, although, as I said, he hasn't won with it yet, so it's not guaranteed to be quicker than the normal wheel. But this is something, this is where Supercars should be going, right? No. This does not happen. Stick with your current stock wheels. We're going to bring out a control wheel and everybody runs the same. As I said, maybe have a slightly bigger one and a slightly smaller one or something, but, have them all spec and, you go and spend $500 down at Momo or whatever and everyone has the same steering wheel in there, rather than what's going to happen now is that's going to be an area that people just go to customization, and yeah, it's just another one of those stupid things where we're spending massive amounts of money for absolutely no reason at all. So that's my wrap up from Sydney. We got to see some great racing. Not much to complain about. I didn't get into the top 15 shootout. That was ridiculous. I'm not going to bang on about it forever, but oh my God, did that qualifying session go on forever? I had a good nap in the middle of the top 15 qualifying session. So I think I saw the first 5 guys and the last 5 guys and missed the middle 5 because it went on so long. I had a little nap. it was great racing. Great to see someone different win. Finally, someone that wasn't either Penske or Triple Eight winning a race. And in the past, the recent past, if it hasn't been one of those two winning a race, it's been the Tickford guys winning. Mainly Chaz Mostert. Speaking of that as well, I see James Courtney started off the weekend as the worst Tickford car, and I reckon he was probably the second best Tickford car by the end of the weekend, so probably won't be too long before he's leading the pack, and you wonder what Will Davison could have done in that car this year. So once again, I've got a bit off track. That covers off everything I want to cover off at the moment. So let me know what you thought about the racing over the weekend. Is there room for improvement? Did you like the degrading tyres or not? Comment down in the links or supercarstalk@gmail.com. And until next time, I'll see you later.
2 is a crowd, 3 is company, 4's a lie.